Holy shit. He said what?
Everybody trying to be a victim. Like, what's this girl, Meghan Markle? Seemed like a nice lady, just complaining. I was like, didn't she hit the light skin lottery and still going on complaining? Acting all dumb like she don't know nothing. Going on Oprah, I didn't know. I had no idea how racist they were. It's the royal family. You didn't Google these motherfuckers?
It started like any other comedy night. Lights dimmed, the crowd buzzing, Chris Rock sliding into the spotlight. But what unfolded wasn't just comedy. It felt like a full-on public execution, and Meghan Markle was dead center in the crosshairs.
The biggest addiction in America is attention. We are addicted to attention. Easiest way to get attention is to be a victim.
Rock didn't ease in or test the waters. He cut straight to the bone with no warm-up, no sugarcoating, no sidesteps. In under a single minute, he flipped her image completely. She went from the world's victim of the press to being the punchline everyone couldn't stop whispering about.
Have you ever seen that video?
No.
Pull that video up, because it's one of my favorites.
You're so racist, you're so racist. Some of the shit she went through was not racism. It was just some in-law shit. Because she's complaining, I'm like, what the f*** is she talking about? No, they're so racist. They wanted to know how brown the baby's gonna be. I'm like, that's not racist. Because even black people want to know.
And here's the kicker. What made it sting even more is that it wasn't even the funniest thing Rock said. The real dagger was in the silence that lingered after each jab, when the crowd let it sink in. And you could see it hit them. Yeah, he's right. That moment turned chuckles into a brutal reality check. For years, Meghan sold herself as the misunderstood outsider.
What the f*** is she talking about? She didn't know. It's the royal family. They're the original racists.
The innocent underdog who didn't get the rules of the game. But with one ruthless set, Chris Rock flipped that whole narrative on its head. He painted her not as a victim, but as someone entitled, calculating, and desperate for the very spotlight she once claimed to hate. And that was just the opening swing. What came next wasn't light teasing, it was a chain reaction of blows. The moment Rock told the world she wasn't some Cinderella, the fairy tale cracked wide open. He stripped away the glass slipper storyline and left nothing but smoke and ashes. See, Meghan's image had always leaned on this delicate myth that she walked into royal life blindsided, a Hollywood actress stumbling into a palace like a wide-eyed princess, only to find a harsh, icy reality. Cute story, sure, but Rock didn't let it slide. He called it out for what it was. Fiction, plain and simple.
Posting up pathetic pictures. This is me eating sushi. Like me. This is me 25 years ago when I was hot. Like me. Oh, it's fucking sad.
He didn't dance around her version of events. He torched it, comparing her claims of not knowing the royal family to a baller pretending they'd never heard of the NBA. The crowd erupted, laughing because it was sharp, bold, and impossible to deny. In that instant, the illusion shattered. Let's be real. Meghan didn't just stumble into royalty, she knew exactly where she was stepping. She studied it, she prepared for it. Meghan didn't walk into that palace clueless. She dated a prince for years, researched every detail, and showed up with her smile polished for the cameras, ready for the world to watch. Chris Rock's punchline did more than get laughs. It gave the crowd permission to finally say what they'd been holding back. That's the real danger of a joke like his. It doesn't just crack a smile, it rips the mask off in slow motion while the audience realizes, wait, maybe we've been played. And here's the brutal part. Meghan wasn't even in the room to clap back, but she didn't have to be, because from that night on, the whole poor Meghan storyline was done for. Every late-night host, every TikTok edit, every Twitter account with Wi-Fi suddenly had fresh meat. What Rock pulled off in under 5 minutes could take her PR team years, maybe decades, to scrub clean. A roast like that doesn't just land, it explodes. Within hours of Rock's special dropping, his Meghan takedown spread like wildfire. TikTok loops went viral, Twitter clips clocked millions, and YouTube breakdowns froze frames of people crying with laughter. Across the comedy world, especially in Britain, the gloves came flying off.
Hey, it's the husband formerly known as Prince. Any luck getting a job?
Oh, they had me driving for Uber Eats, but there were too many damn rules. Don't touch the food, don't taste the food, drive on the road.
I'm sorry, Rowdy Reddy.
Comics started painting Meghan and Harry as walking contradictions, chasing status while pretending to reject it, cashing giant Netflix checks while preaching about purpose, babe, all while posting those $250,000 sponsored Instagram updates with straight faces. The Duchess of Sussex tried to soften her image with an Instagram post, snuggling her daughter and even dropping a never-before-seen birth photo. But across the Atlantic, the response wasn't tender. It was savage. Royal watchers laced their barbs with that special brand of disdain only years of obsession can sharpen, slicing through her carefully crafted image. Late-night hosts smelled the same blood in the water. They ripped into her brand deals. They clowned the infamous "We want privacy" line so hard you could practically hear Buckingham Palace cackling in the background. Who's filming this? Became the punchline of the week.
That she was hunting for a man in England. She wanted wealth and she wanted fame, and she targeted Harry.
And then it got worse. The jokes started to overlap. Comedians who had never even shared a stage were suddenly spitting the same one-liners. That's not coincidence. That's when a narrative flatlines. By week's end, Meghan wasn't seen as the misunderstood Duchess or the Hollywood actress caught off guard. She was the comedy world's freshest running gag. A headline in human form, dripping with contradictions too obvious, too easy, and way too funny to resist. Chris Rock may have struck the first match, but the internet poured on the gasoline. Within days, Meghan's most awkward moments weren't just jokes anymore. They were transformed into viral currency, recycled across TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube like never-ending memes. TikTok went wild. Creators stitched Meghan's interviews with clips of exaggerated eye rolls, sarcastic voiceovers, and laugh tracks stolen straight out of old sitcoms. That bizarre snack rebagging scene from her Netflix show? Instant meme gold. Celebrity name drops got spliced into compilations titled Meghan's Imaginary Friends, and Twitter turned flat-out savage. Screenshots of her contradictions spread like wildfire. Privacy pleas were slapped side by side with perfectly staged paparazzi shots. No punchline even needed. YouTube didn't hold back either. Creators broke her interviews down frame by frame, calling out the rehearsed expressions, the calculated pauses, the lines that sounded like leftover PR copy gone terribly wrong.
The f is she talking about? I didn't know. That's like marrying into the Budweiser family and going, they drink a lot.
Suddenly, Meghan wasn't being seen as a duchess bearing her soul. She was cast as a character in a never-ending soap opera. The audience had shifted, sympathy gone, replaced with unfiltered mockery. Oh my God, that hat! Oh God, so fake! The ridicule was merciless. And here's the most dangerous part. Memes move at lightning speed, way faster than damage control ever could. By the time her PR team even drafted a response, the next viral joke had already dropped, drowning out whatever rebuttal they tried to push. The internet wasn't just laughing at Meghan, it was stripping away whatever dignity she had left. If online memes were a wildfire, late-night TV was the flamethrower, blasting the flames higher every single night. Meghan and Harry turned into the go-to punchline, the cheap laugh that didn't even need setup anymore. On Saturday Night Live, they weren't sketched as rebels or victims. They were painted as a clueless royal dropout and his fame-chasing wife, stumbling blindly through a world they didn't get, but desperately wanted to cash in on. The satire was exaggerated, sure, but not by much, and that's what made it sting even harder. Then Jimmy Fallon jumped in, zooming in on the most absurd details. Meghan's wild claim that they secretly married before the royal wedding, joke material, Harry's bizarre oversharing in his memoir, pure comedy gold. With every skit, the line between parody and reality blurred, making the couple look even more out of touch. Meghan and Harry's habit of spinning everyday inconveniences into trauma became fresh meat for comedians. Even Stephen Colbert, who's not exactly known for being savage, couldn't resist. He dropped lines so sharp the audience winced and laughed at the same time, leaving Meghan's image hanging in the air like an open target. That's the magic and the curse of late-night mockery. Repetition. The same jokes get recycled by so many different hosts that they stop feeling like comedy skits and start sinking into people's heads as if they're facts. In just weeks, Meghan wasn't just a controversial royal anymore. She became a fixed character in the nightly script, a permanent punchline no PR team could erase. Club comics didn't bother with sly nods or clever winks. They went for the throat. British comedian Simon Rodkin shredded her Netflix documentary, calling it a 6-hour infomercial for self-pity, dragging the fake sincerity and overly dramatic music cues. And the curtsying trauma? Rodkin turned it into a joke about whining over taking your shoes off at airport security it killed on stage. Other comics went after Harry too, twisting his cringy oversharing from spare into brutal setups that painted him as out of touch, pampered, and ridiculously sheltered. Together, it turned the couple into a running gag, the kind of mockery that no palace statement or Oprah sit-down could undo, but Meghan always took the heavier fire. Her carefully polished sound bites were ripped apart and mocked as Oscar speeches for an audience of one, leaving her looking rehearsed.
Best way to have a snack is to take the snack out of one bag and then move them into another bag and then label this new bag, even though this bag already has a label on it. Tap water!
In comedy clubs, there's no filter, no network censors, no fake polite chuckles. It's raw, loud, and often vicious. Every savage one-liner shot straight online, fueling wave after wave of ridicule. By the time those sets went viral, Meghan's image wasn't just cracked, it was shredded to pieces, and no one in those crowds was begging to glue it back together. Then came the knockout blow, South Park. And when South Park drags you, there's no bouncing back. Their worldwide privacy tour episode didn't just poke fun, it tattooed Meghan and Harry's hypocrisy onto pop culture forever. Animated versions of the couple screamed about wanting privacy through megaphones while boarding private jets. The gag was so sharp it didn't even need dialogue, just one look and you got it. That's why it hit so brutally. It was too precise. Every contradiction they had ever made was distilled into a 20-minute animated roast that looped endlessly online. And the pile-on didn't stop there. Family Guy cut them down to a 2-second throwaway line, getting millions for doing nothing. And it landed harder than an entire late-night monologue. Animated satire works different. It sticks in your brain like a cartoon tattoo, impossible to scrub off. Once you've been turned into a caricature, that version of you lives in people's heads way longer than reality ever could. The destruction here wasn't just about laughs, it was psychological. When audiences start laughing harder at your cartoon self than the real you, it means you've lost control of your own image. By the time the credits rolled on South Park, Meghan wasn't just being mocked, she was stamped into pop culture as the ultimate symbol of performative victimhood. And no glossy press statement or carefully staged interview could ever erase that cartoon sketch burned into memory. Then came Bill Maher, and he didn't need props, skits, or cartoons to drag her. He came armed with something far more lethal, cold logic. While other comedians picked apart Meghan's quirks, contradictions, or over-the-top sound bites, Maher zoomed out and dissected the entire game plan. He ripped into the hypocrisy of chasing royal perks without royal duties, demanding fame without scrutiny, soaking in the spotlight while dodging the heat. It wasn't flashy, it was surgical, and that's what made it even more brutal. In Maher's words, this wasn't a scandal, it was a business model built to collapse. He contrasted Meghan and Harry's endless list of grievances with Queen Elizabeth's iron silence. The Queen endured decades of brutal press without turning her pain into a Netflix saga. The comparison cut like glass. One side looked dignified, the other looked desperate. But Maher's sharpest blow came in a single line. The world isn't obligated to play along with your personal drama. No shouting, no cheap gag, just raw, blunt truth. That one sentence ripped the victim mask clean off and exposed the entitlement hiding underneath. The audience didn't roar with laughter this time. They nodded in agreement, and that was worse. By the end, Maher hadn't just roasted Meghan, he delivered a diagnosis. Her entire brand was a self-inflicted implosion, dressed up in a royal title and packaged as tragedy. It was brutal because it rang true. At that point, Meghan's image wasn't just dented, it was shattered into thousands of memes, punchlines, and viral one-liners bouncing around the globe. What started as a single Chris Rock jab had snowballed into a cultural verdict. And it wasn't delivered in courtrooms or tabloids. It played out on comedy stages and social feeds. The cruel twist? The laughter outlived the headlines. Even when Meghan and Harry tried to pivot into charity work or stage-polished rebrands, the jokes refused to die. The public couldn't unhear the echo of those jokes. Every speech Meghan gave suddenly sounded scripted. Every photo op looked staged. The roast had turned into a permanent filter over her image, and that's the real danger of becoming comedy shorthand. Once your name becomes a synonym for performative hypocrisy in pop culture, it's done. Look at her face. She knows it, and she's not happy. Here's the cold truth. Politicians bounce back from scandals. Celebrities recover from PR disasters. But when your entire brand is boiled down to a smirk and a punchline, there's no rebuilding. You don't shake it off, you live under it. The modern court jesters had spoken, and the sentence was stamped in laughter. Permanent. And that's what makes this saga different. Meghan's story wasn't stolen by the palace or by tabloids or even by Chris Rock. It was stolen by the world's laughter, and laughter doesn't return what it takes. This isn't just about one comedian or one Netflix special. Rock may have struck the match, but the firestorm spread way beyond stand-up stages. Every contradiction, every overcooked grievance, every desperate grab for relevance, it's all locked now into the permanent record of pop culture, written not in history books, but in punchlines that refuse to fade. Pretty woman across from a bratwurst. Yeah, but here's where it gets uglier. Meghan's drama isn't just setting fire to her public image, it's torching the very relationships that once gave her and Harry the credibility money can't buy back. One of the most damaging examples, the implosion of Sybil, the charity Harry once proudly called his life's work. If you thought the comedy world was cruel, wait until you see how this fallout played out. Sophie Chenko, one of the most respected and trusted figures tied to that mission, finally said, "Enough is enough." That wasn't some quiet disagreement. It was a global slam that echoed louder than any late-night monologue. And the fallout? It left Harry absolutely furious, his temper boiling as one of his proudest projects crumbled in the spotlight. For Meghan and Harry, this wasn't just another PR hit. This was credibility slipping straight through their fingers, the kind of loss you can't spin back with a glossy photo or Netflix deal. Catch the full breakdown right now in my last video, only on Star Spotlight, where the real royal stories get exposed. Like, share, comment, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.